Tiger Woods for par. Yes! 1 under going into Friday, baby. Everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we have a Cadillac XT5 in the shop, and today I'm going to show you how I hand cut a closed framed window. So let's get straight into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is spray the outside of the window, and we're just going to squeegee off this dirty soapy water. The main reason is because we don't want the film to get scratched or rip when we place it on the outside here in a second. So you line it up. You want it to be straight, obviously, across the bottom. And the first cut that we're going to do is cut off all of this extra film that we don't need. So we'll take our Olfa knife and cut off all this extra stuff because it'll just end up being in the way. It also is important that you check and make sure that the liner side, the protective liner, is facing outwards. So once you get to this step, we're just going to poke a little bit of blade out. Hopefully if it'll focus, which it won't, but we're just going to stick a little bit of blade out, and we're going to cut this front edge first. Just like that. When you peel the film away, you always want to peel it away from the actual pattern because you don't want it to rip into the pattern that you're going to use. Our front edge is cut, so we're going to scoot the film up probably about 1/2 inch. And then when you scoot it up 1/2 inch, you're going to cut your back edge. So same thing, we're going to stick a little bit of blade out, and we're going to cut this back edge. Now you should notice on a lot of windows, there's like a groove where the glass and the rubber meet. You want to be sure that you get your knife right in that groove. And then once it is, you can go all the way up. It's obviously very important you don't scratch or cut the rubber trim that's on the side. So you want to be extra careful doing that. And then you cut your back edge, and then you're actually going to move it back half of the distance you moved it forward. So if I moved it forward 1/2 inch, I'm only going to move it back 1/4 inch. That way I have 1/4 inch on both sides. Hopefully my math is adding up, because if it's not, this is going to look real goofy. Okay, so now that our bottom edge is already cut because we used our straight edge, our 2 side edges are already cut, so all we have to do now is cut the top edge. When you do this, you are going to roll the window down. Now when you do that, you have to pick the film up across the bottom to make sure it's obviously not going to crease when you roll it down, and then you're just very slowly going to bump the window down to where you're comfortable enough to stick your knife inside and cut the top edge. Now when I cut the top edge, I'm going to stick a little bit more knife out, and as I cut, I'm going to keep one of my fingers, my left index finger, I'm going to keep it with my knife blade the whole time so the film won't peel up and my cut will be crooked. So that's cut. As I said before, rip the film away from the pattern. And then that's really the basics of cutting the film. Now we're going to put it on our side glass, trim up the edges so we can get all this extra stuff off, and then we'll apply the window tint. So we've taken the film off of the actual car and put it on our side glass. Yeah, I'm sure you can see these edges here, our 4 corners. The bottom corners aren't as bad. We'll round these off because I never like to leave a pointed tip on any corner of my windows. But here I'm just going to line this up and basically just make sure that my cut is straight. That way it looks as best as possible, which we did there, and then I'm really just have to round it off with my knife blade, kind of using my finger. Be careful when you do this, don't cut yourself. And then same thing on this front edge. Just gonna line it up with the front, take that up, cut it off, and I'm gonna line up this front edge. And then same thing, when I'm ready, got it lined up, make a quick cut, and then you're good to go. And now I don't need this to round off my corners, so I'm going to put this back up top there. The reason you don't want to leave any pointed corners on the window tint, and this is my opinion, really everything is my opinion, other window tinters can do it differently, and I'm sure it works, but this is the way I do it. But as I was saying, the reason you don't want to leave rounded corners is because more than likely if the film's at a point, it's not going to lay down, or it's going to have trouble laying down. So that's why you just round off your edges. Makes it a lot easier for me, makes it a lot easier for the installation. Now that the pattern's ready to go, we could stick it on the window. What we're going to do now is just to be sure that it's going to lay down properly, is we're going to shrink the film to the shape of the window. Now, since we did hand cut this film, you need to be extra careful when you shrink it, because usually when we shrink it, we have like an inch or so that we can work with on the bottom if we melt it. However, with a hand cut pattern, you don't have any room to work. So you don't want to get it too hot and melt the film, because you're going to have trouble laying down, or it's going to have trouble laying down, and then you might have to redo it in the future. You might also have trouble laying down. I know I do, sometimes. Now there's only one thing left to do, and that is tint the window. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna go ahead and prep it with our slip solution, roll down the window a little bit. We have our razor blade and our scraper. Spray down the window with our slip solution. Tiger just parred 18 to go one under into Friday. Shout out to Tiger, the big cab baby. We're gonna scrape the window. We're gonna make sure this window doesn't have any glue. It's gonna scrape off any dirt, glue, debris, rocks, other cars, whatever it is that might be up under or on the glass. After we get done doing this, we're gonna take our microfiber cloth, spray down the edges, wipe down the edges, and then we should be ready to apply the film. This is a very important step when tinting windows, because these side gaskets hold a lot of dirt. So you don't want that dirt getting inside of your window film. So that's why you're gonna be sure that you really take the time, put in the work, and prep this window the right way to make sure you're not gonna have to redo this window. It's also important, I say important a lot, but this is important. That's why I say it's important. Dampen your towel and wipe your top edge, because if you're gonna find dirt, it's definitely going to be this top edge. All right, let's go ahead and apply our window film. We are applying a ceramic window tint, Lumar's CTX 30% window tint. That's what we're putting on this front door. Squeegee off this dirty soapy water. Squeegee out our edges. Then we're gonna spray down our edges. Mist the middle of the window. Grab our film and we'll throw it on. All right, let's see how good our pattern really turned out. Because if this did not turn out good, then this video is going to be titled How Not to Hand Cut a Closed Frame Window. But so far, so good, I must say. So far, so good. We're gonna squeegee out the soapy water. The film is in position. Take our orange crush. Get all of this out of there, which is perfect. It's looking good. It's looking good. The film is in position exactly where we need it to be. We're going to take our propane torch and apply a little bit of heat to the top edge. It's always important you keep the torch moving. You never want to leave it stationary in one area, and you never want to point it towards the side rubbers, because you really don't want to burn those. Now, I know I've said this before, but I really do think this is the hardest part when tinting windows. You want to use a lot of slip solution. Take your time. Use a solid corner tool. Slide it below the rubber. Perfect. It's exactly where it needs to go, and it's laying down perfectly. Squeegee out this clean soapy water. That's got to be like 8 times I've said that. But you got to do it. It's important. Oh, I said important again too. Surprise, surprise. This window, for the most part, is done. There's a couple things we need to do to touch it up, and then this customer is going to be good to go. Same thing we did to the top edge. We're going to apply a little bit of heat down here on this bottom. If you have a question on what this adhesive, or what the torch does, it promotes the adhesive on the window film. It also speeds up the drying process, so this customer is going to be able to roll down her window in 24 hours. I hope you all found this video helpful and useful. I know when I first started tinting, I had trouble hand cutting windows. I always had to go back to Mark and ask him, am I doing this right? Am I forgetting a step? So be sure, if you enjoyed this, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow us on TikTok at Glacier Window Tinting and Instagram at Glacier Tinting. And I will see all of you next Friday, 2 p.m. Central. Oh my gosh.